The stories shared on the Busy Baddies are submitted by real listeners and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. To protect from the privacy of everyone involved, all names, companies, and identifying details have been changed or omitted. Any resemblance to real people or events are purely coincidental. We believe in keeping it real while keeping it respectful. Thanks for sharing your experiences and for trusting us to spill the tea with care.
When the lights go low and the real work begins, this is the Busy Baddies.
Where assistants come uncensored, the stories get spicy, and the corporate filter, Control Alt Delete.
I'm Michelle, EA to the CEO of a Fortune 150 company,
And I'm Mel, former C Suite EA turned admin rebel.
and we're here to talk about the real stuff, the stories that never make it to the all hands meeting. This week we are talking work life balance. We can't be the only ones who feel guilty about unplugging and recharging. Finding the balance is a struggle.
Whether you're managing complex calendars, coordinating high stake meetings, or navigating the daily grind, we're here to explore how you can thrive both professionally and personally. So grab your coffee or tea and let's get started.
All right, let's talk about balance. And in our line of work, is there even such a thing as work life balance?
I think there is, but I think it's something that you have to be very intentional about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most of us listening are supporting workaholic executives.
Hmm.
They didn't get where they are today without some aggressive work drive.
Hmm.
And they too probably have to be very conscious
Hmm.
about probably scheduling the balance,
Agreed.
because if you don't, then it probably wouldn't happen.
No, and I think it kind of sets us up for either success or failure,
Mhm.
depending on the person that you support. If you can run at that same pace
Yeah,
as the speed that they keep.
right.
Because I think in order to be successful and efficient, you have to run at that pace.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and not only pace, probably duration of
Hmm.
the day, right?
Yeah.
Because I would wager a very hefty amount that these people we are supporting work more than 8 hours,
1,000%.
and most likely not even taking a lunch break.
No. Weekends.
Evenings,
Yes.
and then you put a global company on
Hmm.
top of that.
Hmm.
So you have Latin America, Europe,
Australia.
Asia Pacific, right?
Yes. Yes.
India,
Hmm.
just all around the globe. And you
Hmm.
truly could work 24/7.
Yes, and I think that that's how, at least in my last role and the stakeholder that I had, um, that's how I got into starting my day at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning,
Hmm.
because I had to catch everything that they did the night before up till 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I would start out behind if I wasn't up hours before they ever got started. So I think that also can throw the balance off, because then you're adjusting your life and what you might normally do in the mornings to start a quote unquote regular work day,
Right.
to accommodate all the work they're pushing out while you're in bed.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm an early bird. My boss is an early bird.
Yep.
So I feel I have to get on kind of what you said. They worked late at night.
Hmm.
Mine's going to get on it also early,
Yep.
um, to kind of start ahead so that you're not behind when they get on.
Hmm.
Because the first thing when they do get on, they're going to expect you're caught up and you're ready to go.
Correct.
So when they call you or do your morning check-in, they're going to assume you've read everything and you already know what what's on the list. You know, you can anticipate what those asks are going to be.
Yeah, whereas if you're an admin that gets up at 8:30 and you haven't even had a chance to check that email from 11:29 at night last
Yeah,
night that they're referring to, you look like you don't have it together.
right. No, that's not what you want
No.
to happen. That's not a relationship I think is going to be successful
Mm-mm.
because you're going to be chasing your leader
Yeah.
and we should always be ahead of them.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's important when you get aligned with the stakeholder or you start with someone where you have that conversation up front of what is your preferred work hours? Are you a night owl? Are you an early bird? When do you tend to be more productive? Because if that person is maybe not a morning person, I'm going to go a little lighter on the schedule for morning meetings
Right.
because they're not going to be giving substantive good information or making good decisions at 8 a.m. meetings.
Yeah. So let's let's go through maybe some examples of what our work days have looked like in the past and
Hmm.
then how we find that work balance in it.
Yeah.
So we talked about, for me, early mornings. So I feel like there's a small group of us that their leaders must work the same way, right?
Correct.
They get up, they maybe work out, and then they're online
Hmm.
by 7:30.
Yep.
So our days are starting that early, not to mention they're having meetings till 5.
Correct.
So that's already what, a close to a 10-hour day.
Hmm.
You're doing that 5 days a week. So where does then the work-life balance come into effect? For me, I find it easier to kind of then get off a little earlier
Hmm.
in the afternoon, mainly because if she's having any meetings, it's usually one-on-ones or just not major customer meetings that are
Hmm.
gonna need my support.
Sure.
So you have that little bit of flexibility of, yeah, if you're starting early, you can get off a little early. My normal hours, I guess that I try to stay to is 7 to 3.
Hmm.
And then the balance that I find is when she's traveling, um, international travel, e- those now turn into my flexible weeks
Nice.
to where I feel like I can get on a little later in the day.
Hmm.
That I'm not so urgently needed at
Hmm.
7 a.m. because she's in another time zone.
Yeah.
Um, but other outside of that, I feel like you also have to give that, like, you have to be okay giving that up as,
Hmm.
an EA of knowing you also are going to be tied to longer work hours.
Yeah, and there's the unexpected that pops up too. I mean, a prime example is me, for instance, in total opposite of what you just described. I, for the last 5.5, 6 years, have had no balance. And coming
Mm,
off of being an EA, I have found just how little balance I had, how much I had let myself go, how
mm,
much I wasn't taking care of myself, how horribly I was sleeping because work to me was all consuming. Because at this point in my life, it was the most important thing that I had going on.
mhm,
So for me, I had to be intentional of and not feel that guilt because I am a person who feels tremendous guilt if I feel like I'm going to let somebody down.
yeah,
I think we all feel that way.
yeah,
Um, but I literally did not realize how much no balance that I had. So I'm sure there's people out there that are struggling with both.
mhm,
In hindsight, I think what I would do differently is plan for those times that the unexpected could happen. Yes, was I intentional of, if she was traveling or she was in an all-day staff meeting, with her peers. Maybe that was a day that I took a half a day to go run my errands, go to Costco, go get some things done so that I could get caught up. But even then, I always had that dreadful feeling of, I got to check my phone. Is
Right.
something going to happen? Is she going to need me? International travel was another good call out. There was several instances where, she had traveled and it was on a Saturday or a Sunday, and air travel is not what it used to be before COVID.
Yeah.
So there was Saturdays and Sundays of trying to figure out, how do I get her where she needs to go, which meant I was then also encroaching on what should be, quote unquote, my time.
Yeah. You feel like an air traffic controller because you're
Yes.
literally tracking the flight.
Yes. And watching, okay, has she made it safely to Dubai or India or, wherever it is that she's going? Because I personally have always felt they are my responsibility.
Mhm.
It's not the pilot that's flying the plane. It's not the person who actually booked the travel for me. I am responsible for that person,
Yeah.
100%. Start to finish. The car picks them up as their bottled water in it. I
Yeah.
mean, I just get hyper fixated on that. And I never really realized how very little balance I had until I got out of that role.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about I know for both of us
Hmm.
we're empty nesters.
Yep.
Could you imagine doing this role with young school-aged kids?
I would have failed miserably.
Yeah. Either at the job
Hmm.
or being a parent.
Yeah. I think for me, family is so important that I knew that my children would come first.
Mhm.
So to me, I would have either ended up fired or being looked at as a bad admin, because I would not have felt the least bit bad about throwing my boss to the wayside for my kids.
Yeah.
And I know there's, ladies out there who you probably feel the same, where, why do we have that struggle of, do I have to pick my kids or do I have to pick work, right?
Yeah.
Um, to me, that's just crazy that that's even a question. So I think this episode is more of a call out to even leaders that may be listening. Ask your EA when you have time with them, one on ones, lunch together, whatever it is. What is your balance? Does your
Yeah.
balance look off? How do you feel mentally? Kind of like what we touched on last week. I think it's just super important that they're cognizant. They may not have balance, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't have balance.
Well, and I also feel like for a lot of us, if you're a great admin, it can look very easy
Mhm.
to the leader you're supporting.
A thousand
Yeah,
percent.
I don't know that they understand what, and maybe they do, but what it takes for their day to to go seamlessly, and then to throw travel in it, or customer meetings,
Mhm.
government meetings, any of those things. There are so many moving parts that I feel like, to them, I don't know that they get the true depth
Mm-mm.
and stress
Mm-mm.
of our job.
Mm-mm.
Like, we take on all the worry.
Mhm.
Like you said, we have no control over a delayed flight, weather, any of those things. And yeah, it may affect them
Mhm.
because they're the one traveling, but we're the ones in the background.
To feel like it's a fail.
Yeah, and making all of the calls and
Mhm.
trying to get it fixed, and
Yep.
staying on the airline.
Mhm.
We have no control over air traffic at all. Um,
Man, if I did.
yeah, no kidding. So I think it's a very good point, as you said, for leaders that are listening.
Mhm.
It may seem like the job is easy and comes natural,
Mhm.
but is there a balance um, for your admin? Is there a work life balance that is sustainable, that feels
Yep.
good,
Yep.
that's allowing them to have the life that they want,
Mhm.
and, family commitments, spouse commitments, all of the things, are they a good friend
Mhm.
to other people outside of work?
Yep. Yeah,
So
and I think, even more importantly, if there is leaders listening and even admins, I would ask them, if you're a leader and you think your admin is doing a stellar job and there's nothing that they can improve upon, ask yourself, at what cost?
yeah,
At what cost is my assistant available all the time? Is that wrecking their marriage? Are their kids missing their parent? What am I taking from them? And then on top of that, admins, ask yourself, at what cost am I selfishly giving of myself to my company or my stakeholder? You can't get time back. Time is the one thing it is the greatest commodity because you can never get it back. So, what is the cost that you are paying to be stellar at your job? And a call to action on what you just said. I think a fantastic idea, admins. Suggest to your boss that they follow you for a life in a day. Ask them if they have 3, 4 hours that they can spare one day out of the year just to see what it's like to be you.
yeah,
What is it that you go through? What are the notes that you reply to? How long does it take you to actually book a flight? Let's not even get into purchase orders, expense reports, the other million things that you have to do in the background
yeah,
outside of just being that person for them. I mean,
yeah,
the details are crazy. And leaders, maybe suggest that to your EA if you're listening. I think it's a fantastic idea to see how the sausage is made, so to speak.
yeah.
Okay. So being mindful of what we were talking about around work life balance, what are some things that people out there can do um, that would integrate better balance or just some sort of balance? Because maybe some people have no balance.
Yeah, I think first is starting small
Hmm.
and starting with something you can hold yourself accountable to doing,
Hmm.
even on a small scale.
Yep.
So that could be, I'm going to take 2 10-minute outside walks
Hmm.
every day and kind of do that mental break from work,
Hmm.
get some fresh air. Uh, and you can easily, I think, hold yourself accountable to that.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes a day. Something as simple as, if there's something that you really enjoy doing, for instance, maybe you're a person who loves CrossFit, you know, maybe just set a goal of 2 days a week to start with. I'm going to cut out a little early, whether it be 4:30, 5 o'clock, to go catch that last class at CrossFit
Yeah,
because I know that I need that mentally, or I'm going to go for that run. I hung up my tennis shoes, I stopped running, because I think balance is a holistic thing too, right? It's
yeah.
not just doing something, it's being intentional about your health, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, and for those, that have kids,
Mhm.
maybe you make a promise that twice a week you're gonna take either your kids to school or you're gonna pick them up,
Mhm.
and figure that out, and the days could be different every week,
Yep.
around the flexibility of what your team or leader has on the calendar that week.
Mhm. Yep. And I think leaders too, it's important that we as EAs, that we call out their balance as well. Because like you said, they run at a fast pace. They don't know when to stop. They don't know when enough's enough. They're not good at saying no. They just
Mhm.
keep taking on more and more. So, how do we call that out to them? Or how do we be intentional in scheduling things around, maybe, like, I know your leader, for instance, loves to ride a bike or go for walks or, outdoor activities. So, do you build that in for that person or?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Um, I make sure that at least once a week or every other week,
Mhm.
there's a early day, let's say 3 o'clock,
Mhm.
and 3 to 5 is blocked to go for a hike, do a cycle ride, and that helps recharge, especially for your active leaders,
Mhm.
where that physical exercise or
Mhm.
doing something helps them.
Mhm.
And that could look different for everybody,
Sure.
whether you know it's bingo,
Mhm.
that you just need a mental free
Mhm.
game to do,
Yep.
and Wednesday nights at the local Eagles, they have bingo, and you're going.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the task or what the exercise or activity is,
Mhm.
it's doing it. And then I think if you're, as an EA, if you're scheduling that for your leader, I'd like to say that your leader would be just as receptive if you need that also,
100%.
you know?
Yeah, that's a great call. I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's so many people think leadership at companies aren't human,
Mhm.
when, there's things that they need, and in return, you, you know, I'd like to think that they look at us as we're human too, and not just superheroes or magicians
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
sort.
and I think that's where the shadow thing would come in very handy because I think, like you said and pointed out, we make it look so easy that we don't come across as it's hard or
Or we're
it's,
stressed,
right.
or yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's and I think that's and this could be getting way off topic and maybe something to even talk about later down the road, but we are leaders. We may not be running a company, but we lead leaders.
Mhm.
We set the tone, we set the schedule, we lead them in certain ways to be better, to be efficient, to lead them in the direction of being cognizant of that at
Yeah.
least,
Mhm.
because so many of them that's in the rear view, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm running at 500 miles an hour. I'm not thinking about, speak up. There's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, like it's been a really rough quarter. I need to take a couple days off. Like I feel like I'm running on E. I
Yeah.
am just exhausted mentally. I don't feel like I'm showing up good."
Mhm.
Because there comes a point where you don't have good enough balance that your work is going to start to suffer.
Yeah. Whether you even realize it is or not.
100%. And then what if your leader calls that out? Whereas had you just had that conversation and just said, "Hey, I need that afternoon or I need to take a Friday off because it looks like you're, going to be at the kids' school or whatever." I mean, just call that out. It's not weakness.
No, not at all. I mean, and I know myself personally, like I can feel myself zoning out
Mhm.
when it's been, 3 straight weeks of just go, go, go,
Mhm.
long days. And sometimes there's no avoiding
Mm-mm.
that ebb and flow. And you just have to be mindful that when whatever the slowdown looks like in your area, your team, you have to take advantage of that.
Mhm.
And sometimes when that comes, don't feel guilty that maybe you aren't as busy as you have been for the last 3 weeks.
Mhm.
It's okay,
Yeah.
because we can't run at 200% forever.
No.
And so that would be my call out to those of you listening. If there is a slow moment in time, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Don't, oh, I could be doing this right now.
Right.
Let me, I've wanted to volunteer for this. Don't do that and get in the habit of overexerting
Mhm.
yourself when you literally have a half day of just mindfully hitting the refresh button
Mhm.
on Outlook, waiting for an email to come in to answer.
Girl, I can say leaving the role a little over 2 months ago, I think for probably the first at least month, I thought either my cell phone was broken,
Mhm.
I had been fired and someone forgot to tell me, or this is like what my new normal is
Yeah.
because I had operated in chaos, constant barrage of emails, pings, can you do this?
Dumpster fires, just
Yes,
everything's an emergency.
I was like, what is this of getting like 3 emails a day? Like
Yeah.
I literally I was like, well, maybe instead of the promotion, like they fired me and didn't tell me, kind of like
Or did they tell the manager that I actually started working? Or
yeah, when is the work gonna hit, right? So I think we get so comfortable in the chaos.
we don't know what normal looks like.
No, because we're in a constant toilet bowl of swirling.
Mhm.
And then when it stops, you almost feel uneasy because you're like, well, this feels weird. Like, how do I have this time? What am I going to do with this? I need to fill every single moment,
Right,
So which is how this kind of podcast even came about was
right.
I was like, well, now I have this job and, I have time. Like, I have time to dedicate to this and be intentional and try to make it as good as I can. Cause I
Yeah,
think you and I are both the same that we don't do anything unless it's 150%.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, so
until,
and a little backstory for anybody that wants to know how the Busy Baddies came to be. I mean, this was something we kind of joked about for over a year,
yeah,
almost 2, I
yeah.
think, that we kind of put on the table of all of these things,
Mhm,
that we felt, we had stories
mhm,
and some okay advice, I'd say. We're not professional,
yeah,
we're not perfect, but we do know what success looks like in an EA role. And yeah, I think knowing you were gonna move on, from the team, it kind of got a little more serious.
yeah, and I think it was good timing because it also gives a very different perspective of being in the current seat versus being out of it, kind of having that in the rear view. And um, I have always been a person of I want to learn from every single person that I'm in the room with.
Mhm.
I can learn from the janitor, I can learn from the CEO. Somebody has something to teach me. So I I look at this as I want to use this platform to help people gain confidence, find their voice, have hard conversations, and just be all around better. Because really, when we all grow and get better, the profession gets the kudos that it deserves,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, and everything goes up.
Mhm. Salaries.
Salaries, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, there is some turds out there that, kinda mess up the title for some of us, but, that's where you come in, you help somebody. If you see somebody struggling or you see that, they're maybe not at the level there's a good way to go about it.
Yeah,
You don't have to browbeat somebody, but, just lift each other up and help them, and if you see maybe they don't have balance, call that out.
yeah. So let's start a balance
Mhm.
comments.
Hashtag baddie balance.
Batty balance. I love that. So let's help each other out. Put
Yeah.
in the comments how you find your balance, what do you
Mhm.
do for balance, and let's give some suggestions for those of us that need a little help
Mhm.
balancing the balance.
Yeah, and don't suggest Pilates because I hate Pilates, and I know core strength is huge on balance, but I am not a Pilates girl, so
No
no
Pilates.
Pilates.
So out there, in closing, let's just say we know balance in our roles probably doesn't come easy.
Mhm,
So we just ask that you be mindful,
mhm,
know know yourself, and know when you feel that your brain and your heart and soul is asking for that balance. Maybe
mhm.
just open up your mind to listening to what your body is saying and be intentional.
Mhm,
We are making sure that our leaders have the balance,
mhm.
and it's okay to hold that mirror up and do it for yourself.
Yeah, because do you want to be forced to have the break that you didn't ask for? Because, no balance and not taking care of yourself comes, like I said before, at a cost.
Hmm.
So, it's going to surface somehow.
Yeah,
You're either going to be sick, you're gonna have some mental health challenges, you may have to get into counseling, there's a lot of different ways that that can
yeah,
manifest. So, I think find the confidence to have the hard conversations, find the confidence to advocate for yourself, and know that you are worth doing good things and finding balance and getting back to things that you love, because when you have the balance, you are only going to be better at your job.
mhm,
You are going to be fresh. You're going to be, ready to go. You can't pour from an empty cup. So if you come in burnout, mentally overloaded, can't think through a complete sentence, kind of like I am right now, um, it's you're not any good to anybody when you're halfway there.
yeah,
So just take care of yourself.
yeah,
Like, be a baddie, but also be an intentional baddie who takes care of herself. And, even the guys that are out there, if you are listening and maybe you're not an admin or you're married to someone who is an admin, you know, make those special plans on the weekend. Be intentional about taking time away with them, sending flowers, like just doing the small things that really, because we are so giving of ourselves. And I know this is supposed to be the closing, but there was a girl one time who had said it, and I thought, there's never been a truer sentence spoken about being an EA, but she said, in order to be a really good EA, you have to have a servant's heart. And a servant is such a selfless giver
mhm,
that you just pour and pour and pour, and you are always so hyper fixated on the other person that you forget about yourself. It's very easy to do. I
yeah,
know, I've been there.
yeah. It is.
So just take care of yourselves. We'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll be talking gaining confidence and leadership in admin roles.
Until then, keep it real, keep it bad,
That's right.
keep it spicy. Tea time should be back next week, I think. Send some submissions for that, either to Instagram, thebusybaddies@gmail.com, to give us some stories to share about, how you gained confidence, how you exemplified confidence.
Or how you don't and you're looking for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
That's it for us today, bringing order to corporate chaos.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that follow button.
Yours truly, Melissa,
And Michelle,
the
the
Busy
Busy
Baddies.
Baddies.